the worst comments I had was on a YouTube short I did where I'm teaching people about content creation, right? So I've opened myself up to the ultimate backlash because I'm creating content, talking about content creation. And someone says,
so today I have David Falkner with me. Hello, David Falkner.
Hello, Dean Seddon.
So for anybody who doesn't know Dave has been working with me forever, since he was 20.
Yeah, about 10 years now. 10 years this year, I think.
Scary, isn't it? 10 years, right?
I know.
The other day, like Louise was saying to me, Dean, you're getting old now. There's not much difference between you and another member of staff who's been with us for quite a while, Dave. And I said, no. I'm closer to Dave's age than I'm closer to the other members of staff's age. And told her she was being rude.
I feel like you've used that one a few times. I'm like, that's why you've kept me around. I'm like helping you stay. If I left, you'd be closer to them because
I still feel comfortable.
No boundary.
Like, I still feel comfortable that Vasco is old enough to be my father. I don't know.
He walks around at events and says he's got 60-year-old children, so he likes to make himself feel old, I think. Which is good.
Yeah, and obviously you've gone on a little bit of a journey in terms of like you're now more present, more public, more out there. You're speaking at events and doing all that stuff. And I thought it'd be good to kind of talk about like how did you find that journey kind of going from like you do your graphic design stuff. I mean, you've always been fairly confident, so it's not like you were like an introvert or anything, but what was it like for you kind of going from like behind the computer designing stuff and doing all that stuff to actually speaking?
I think it's scary. And actually, I was speaking to someone at our last event and they said, it's actually apparently the second biggest fear to humans. Like it's our second biggest fear is speaking in front of people. And I think number one was I can't remember what number one was, but it was the second big. Oh, the first one was death, right? First biggest fear is death. Second biggest fear is speaking in front of people, apparently. And it's a reason behind that. Apparently, it's an ancestry thing where actually we were told to get up and speak in front of people, and if it went badly, the end for us would be death, right? That was so people would fear speaking in public because bad public speaking would actually end up with you being thrown out. Yeah, exactly. Wow. So it's ingrained in us to be scared of public speaking, and I feel like for me, I've done it now. I went from doing things like this. It was online and you have no audience, which actually is quite scary, but at the same time, you can edit it, you can delete it, you can do what you want. But when you're in front of people, it's like it has to be right then. And actually, the more and more I've done it, the more I realize it doesn't have to be perfect. And actually, the more kind of honest and open and the more you are yourself, the better that it goes.
And what was like the biggest, like, what was the biggest thing that you had to kind of fix when you started doing it? What was the thing that you really kind of noticed? Like, like I have what's the thing that you kind of noticed that you had to fix?
So I just speak so fast. I just wouldn't breathe. I genuinely felt like I'd get 10 minutes down the road and I would never have taken a breath. I'm thinking, have I had a breath yet? Am I going to pass out? Like I can feel myself like get to that point where I'm like, you need to breathe now, but don't make it obvious. Don't stop panting.
I remember two kind of things about this, like where you were like talking really fast. There was one where you were recording a video and I think Luke would edited it and was playing it back to me. And I was like, why are we listening to him on double speak? And it wasn't.
Yeah, it was my first few training videos. We were like, right, let's put this to 1.5, put this at 0.75 and then re-upload it. So we actually would slow me down in my webinars and stuff because it was just, I would just run away. And it's a nerves thing. The more time you have to think, the more mistakes you think you'll make. So it was just keep talking and don't stop, and then make sure that you don't give yourself a chance to fail, basically.
And how did you stop doing it? Because you don't do it now.
I definitely don't do it as much. I feel like when I'm nervous, I'll start a bit quick and then I start to slow down. And I think the big thing that changed it for me was I used to think that the importance of being able to speak in front of people was about what you delivered. It's about the content. It's about making sure that you give them the right information and you give them the most amount of value as possible. But actually, I realized how powerful it was to engage your audience actually over the content itself. So like how much better it was for you to build an audience that were engaged in what you were doing rather than what you were saying. And I think then it becomes about delivering the right content. But if you cannot get an audience engaged, they're not listening, they're not taking it in. So for me, it was like, how can I do things? So at first it was slowing down, having peaks in my voice, and making sure that I was giving eye contact and addressing the audience. But obviously you've done this for how many years now?
For a long time. Too many.
Long time.
I made a terrible mistake once, public speech. It could have ended, like, in now it would probably end my career, but like I was weird because I was actually talking about God and religion. And back in the day, I was obviously involved in the church and everything. And I was asked to go to a school to give a talk.
Okay.
And it was a religious school. And you know, when you're talking and sometimes you don't know what the next word that's going to come out, you know what you're going to say,
Yeah.
but the way you say it isn't always in your control. So I was there and they were asking me like, they were asking like good and evil, and like if you were kind of, is a lie, you know, for God, is a lie as bad as like murder?
Right.
This is what I said. I said, well, God sees all sin, evil, the same. Yeah, there's no distinction between it's this little one or this big one. So think about it like light and dark, right? Light and dark. It's just binary. And if you're light, you're good, and if you're dark, you're bad. Oh, but
could you imagine saying that now?
I just said.
Because it doesn't matter if your intention. The thing with
the clip now, they just take the clip and use that.
Exactly. Yeah. The context is gone. And almost every celebrity at some point comes across this problem with taking things out of context and shaping you to be someone. They'll forget the sentence you said before, which is, here's the context. This is only about this. You say the thing and they just go, no, it was about something else. Oh, it's crazy.
So yeah, sometimes you have those moments where you just like, in the moment you're trying to explain something and you're not really thinking so much ahead of yourself about how it could be misinterpreted. And yeah, I've had some other silly ones, like you know, I've spoke with my fly down. And you know what? That's become a paranoid thing. You know, when you're looking out in the crowd and you see people's faces and you can see people smiling, people looking engaged, and then you see some people like frowning maybe. And then there's some people where they look at you and I think, is my fly down?
Yeah. Yeah. The panic sets in. Yeah. And I think it's like, again, you can see when someone's eyes are at your eyes or whether they're somewhere else and they're like looking at my mouth or something and I'm thinking, I've got something in my teeth. Or they're looking down at your shirt, I got a stain there. And then you start to focus on it. So when you're trying to confidently speak, but all you can think is, I've got a stain or I've got something in my teeth.
And then you can't remember what you said.
And actually, the way I've learned to do these, I tried to do them scripted. And I know, Dean, you've always struggled with scripted, and you've always been someone who's been a lot better at just going off on the fly. I started scripted, and I realized that. Yeah. I started scripted, and I realized that actually it was really negatively impacting my videos to the point where I was never looking at the camera. You could see I was reading. It was robotic in my tone. And then I started to go more improvised. And what we've just been talking about is the problem. The good thing with being improvised means actually you come up with some gold because you just kind of, you don't feel too much pressure. You've got more confidence. But if something slightly interrupts your train of thought, you've got to somehow find the rest of what you were saying out of nowhere, and you've got no time to come up with it either.
Yeah, it's like when we're talking in the office and we say something between us, and then we go, "That was good. That what did I just say?"
We're in a world where actually you have to record and transcribe absolutely everything.
Literally, as soon as we start talking, we record everything. So obviously, this must be like, it's hard for me to remember because it's like so long ago. But your journey over the last few years, what do you notice about like the scariness and how you handle what could be like, you've had some people who've disagreed with you, probably. You've had some people who've had a different opinion.
Sure.
Or even maybe critical even. How did you kind of cope with that and not let it like fester?
So naturally, I think we're defensive. Like we're defensive. When the criticism comes, we can naturally be defensive, especially when you personally felt things went okay, and then someone tries to tell you it didn't. It's like, oh, like you feel like you don't want to believe them, but at the same time, I felt you have to take criticism on board. So sometimes people will give me criticism after an event or after a webinar, and they'll say, Dave, you spoke too fast, or maybe you could have delivered this a little bit differently, and I'll take it on board now, and I've got good at taking it on board. And actually, it's then about making sure I put it into practice without obsessing over it. Right? So that thing, Dave, you talk too fast. Okay, well, today I'm going to... do you know what I mean? You over slow down then. So it's like, how do you find the balance? So I think it's really important to take criticism, but I can't help take it personally from, even though it's like strangers, people I've never met before, online, for example, and they leave a comment on a TikTok video that only got 15 views, but one of those views was from some guy who left me a comment criticizing me. I just can't help but think, oh, that hurt. Do you know what I mean?
The user 2467Z said. Exactly. What's the worst one you've had? What's the worst like cutting comment you've had on social media?
Oh, the worst one, like YouTube. To me, I've never been a social media poster, right? Unless it was for the company and it was something that was to do with work. The only time you catch me posting is when I had to. Do you know what I mean? To celebrate an event, my wife was getting me to post on our anniversary. Oh, right. It's one of them. And
you do realize this is recorded, right?
Yeah, I realize. And one of the worst comments I had was on a YouTube short I did where I'm teaching people about content creation, right? So I've opened myself up to the ultimate backlash because I'm creating content, talking about content creation. And someone says, coming from the guy that does the most boring videos on YouTube I've ever seen. And I was like, oh my days. I was like, you could just go in there and say, you should practice what you preach. Your content's a bit boring. This is the most boring content I've ever seen. And I was like, come on. Ever? Really? It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, ever. I had one.
Sorry,
I had one the other day, and what was it? We'd filmed a YouTube Shorts again, right? TikTok comments and YouTube comments are brutal. Like compared to like Instagram or anything else, it's like they're ruthlessly harsh. I had one, I think it was a YouTube short, and it was like, we'd filmed this video, but it was a bit of a shitty, weird angle. I didn't like the angle. But I was talking to somebody about something about making money on LinkedIn or something. And then somebody put, who are you talking to? And then somebody beyond it goes, this guy's credibility has gone from 0% to 0%. I found the comment funny, but at the same time I went, you
this is recorded, right?
Yeah. It's yeah. But sorry for the language, everybody. But it is weird how these like random people who are like often hidden behind a username and a profile picture that like it's anonymous will say the most horrible things.
Oh, you go to their profile, they've got 4 subscribers, they've shared one Fortnite video of them and their 13-year-old mates playing Fortnite, and yet I'm taking it personally that they're saying my content's boring. And I'm thinking, but someone in my workshop said I was the most engaging presenter they've ever seen. But I don't care about that. That's gone. That's out of my brain straight away. But this one little 13-year-old who's playing Fortnite on YouTube told me that I'm boring, and now I'm like, God, I need to change up my whole content strategy.
Maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should go stack shelves.
Exactly. Maybe I should just give it up.
I think no, that's like the hardest bit, is coming to terms with some people are going to shit on you online. I think that's really kind of difficult to kind of get over. Do you know what I mean? Where you don't care.
The Twitter for me was a big thing, because I used to football Twitter, for example. I love football, so I go on Twitter for it. It's great there for it, for updates and things. But fan bases are the most toxic thing you've ever seen, and this could be any fan base. You say one bad word about Taylor Swift, and before you know it, you've got 1,500 comments from her fans and DMs calling you every name under the sun, right? And it forces people to deactivate because they get that bad, and they're strangers. But it's just the sheer intensity of people who don't know you giving their opinion on you is just, and we have to be open to it because we're on the platform. We want them to see what we say, so we have to hear them out. We have to let them say what they want. And it just, for me, I struggle with how you can go from sitting here having the thought, wow, that was a boring video, to then having to put your fingers on that keyboard and write, this is the most boring content I've ever seen. Hit send and then move on. Like, it feels to me there's an extra step there that was probably not necessary. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you could say, oh, well, they're not putting themselves out there. They're hiding behind it. It's easy for them to come and rip somebody else, but like they're not doing it. But still, it's like, what motivates people to be that like I watched this guy on YouTube, and he did a video yesterday, and I didn't like what he had to say, and I thought he was off the mark.
Yeah.
So I did a comment, but I was like, I wasn't getting at him. I was saying, I think you're off the mark here, and here's why.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't agree with these points. It was like, it was a bit negative, but it wasn't like personal. But some of these people but I've seen it, like, sometimes with YouTube videos. I'm not the kind of person who will comment nastily, but I've seen those YouTube videos and those pieces of content where it's like, I want to see the comments on this one. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that there's going to be something.
Yeah, you
like
expect
that.
it. And actually, I do sit and read comments, and I don't know why, because they're all so negative and toxic, and I just sit there going, you're horrible, you're a nasty person, why do you even put that? And I feel myself doing that through the comments, but at the same time I read them, almost as if they're a post in themselves. And for me, it's like you said, constructive. If someone said, this content's really boring, I actually, here's a suggestion for how it would be more interesting. I'd be like, wow, I appreciate the comment. You've said the same thing. You still said I'm boring, but actually, my reaction to it is more appreciation than it is like sheer. And look, the problem is we question ourselves in this society at the moment. We question ourselves enough as it is for other people to then put more pressure on you to feel bad about yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're all on a learning curve. I have like less than, I don't know, next to no followers. So I'm clearly in a growing phase, trying to understand YouTube a bit better. So it's like, I feel like sometimes we need to let people grow and not just like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, influencers are going to get that criticism because they're earning a lot of money doing it. Do you know what I mean? They're earning a lot of money for our views. And
some of them are.
They say they are. A lot of them say they are, right? So when you earn a lot of money from the people being there and giving you that attention, there's going to be some more scrutiny than that.
Yeah. There's the people who want what you've got, and there's people who resent what you've got.
It's a great point. Yeah. Yeah. There's people that will take what you say and it will motivate them. And there's other people that will see it and hate you for it. It's absolutely true.
I was thinking about this, like, you can see now why some like celebrities, if they got into their own comments, could end up screwed up.
And they do. They deactivate. There's a lot of people out there that deactivate, all because of one rumor, right? A lot of the time, I could right now post something that suddenly goes viral, and it could have no context, it could have no detail, it could have no real substantial evidence, but it could destroy that person. And it's not just them, by the way. These people are very good. The trolls, they'll get to your wife, they'll get to your children, they'll get to your mum, your dad, and they'll be messaging everyone you know about it. It doesn't just destroy one person's life, it actually affects everyone around them.
Do you think, though, there's kind of a weird balance, though, isn't there? Because it's like, if you kind of like ignore them, like, you can, like, if you think you'll have people who love what you do and people who hate what you do, and hopefully you get more people who love it than hate it. That's the goal, right? But if you spend a lot of time listening to the people who hate what you do, it will destroy you. But actually, if you ignore them and only listen to the people who love what you do, you kind of become like, what's the word? Like, almost oblivious to like the reality of, blind to your flaws kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. When you only consider positive reinforcement and not negative, I think, and you do get that, the more popular you become, the more of the positive you probably see. So actually you end up getting really almost over reassured to the point where you think you're a little bit untouchable, and actually that could be damaging for some people's career because it really affects the personality. And that's why people say money changes people, because actually when you have a lot of money, you'll see a lot of fake attention, and you'll actually mistake that for people that like you and think that you're amazing and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's like the Vladimir Putin syndrome, isn't it? It's got like, he's got all of the people who agree with him round him. He'll do yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. So he's like blind to the flaws in what he's doing.
Absolutely. And I do think we need negative comments, like I said. Even though I'm against some of the stuff that they say, I do think it's important. And look, Dean, from our perspective, in our world, comments, no matter whether they're negative or positive, helps us, right? It helps us in terms of reach, visibility, more attention, right? They always say no. It's like the bad press is better than no press almost. And it's like that same thing. If you get any engagement or any attention, it's still positive. And some people build a career off bad attention, don't they?
Yeah. Well, we know somebody like that. Andrew Tate's done that really well. One of the things we did on that kind of attention thing, the TikTok thing we were doing, me and Tom were doing on my TikTok. And for anybody who doesn't know or doesn't follow me on TikTok, I did a run of talking about current affairs. And in my videos, I stayed neutral. Like, I literally just asked people both sides of a political debate what they thought. And weirdly, I got slammed from both sides of the political debate.
Wow.
Right. Some people were commenting saying I was a right-wing nutter. And the other people were saying I was a left-wing libtard.
Oh, God.
But I was just literally asking people questions about what do they think about this? What about this? And it was so funny to watch how, like, if you have a particular viewpoint and then you come to a piece of content, you almost project what you think onto it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like they'll overanalyze something that doesn't need to be overanalyzed. It was just a very down the middle. I just want to hear your thoughts on this point. But we'll overanalyze it. We'll overanalyze you. What are you wearing? What do you look like? What do you have behind you? And then we'll go, yeah, he's this or he's that. And we're quick to just assume or judge based on that. But I think that having 2 points is actually good, though, because you've got the best of both worlds in a good and bad way.
And the best bit was watching them fight with each other in the comments, arguing back and forth. You looked over. It's funny.
Yeah.
What do you reckon then? Like, you've gone into this kind of journey of going from kind of behind the scenes in the social media public world to in front of it. A lot of people are afraid of doing that because of that fear of what happens if I make a massive mistake? What happens if I say something stupid like Dean has a potential to do and get cancelled or whatever?
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, you meet people, you talk to people, we've got people on our accelerator program who are terrified of that, whether it be posts or whether it be speaking. Like, there's a lot of people who have that problem.
It's like, I feel like we're scared to post because we think it'll go viral, everyone will see it and judge us. Chances are your content's not going to do that. I think for me, the content you want to produce is the sort of content that is interesting, engaging, funny to a smaller number of people. And that's kind of the road I went down. You're going to get a fewer people it's irrelevant to, But I'm never going to be the sort of person that's reaching numbers like Kim Kardashian because my audience isn't that big, or that's not the audience I want to aim for. I'm not trying to appeal to the masses. I'm just trying to resonate with a group of people, a specific group. So if everyone outside of that group sees my content and doesn't like it, who cares, right? They're going to forget me in 2 minutes, probably 2 seconds, to be honest with you. And I think we can overthink and actually we can overproduce to try and make content perfect, to try and go for like a one-hit wonder or really try to compete with everything out there. But actually, I think the best thing is just being yourself. My best videos are the ones where I've handheld them with my phone, with my hand in my phone. And there's been no overproduction at all. And actually, those have been my highest performing videos because actually people resonate with raw and authentic content.
So do you think then, right, with hindsight, so thinking back to your little journey, trying to remember the first time you did an event, what happened, but I feel like the first time you did it, you were kind of dropped in the ocean.
Yeah. Was this in person or online, do you mean?
In person. Was it like an Oxford one or something like that where you had to go and do it on your own for the first time?
Oh, it was for a company that kind of delivers for free events for businesses, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was in Oxford, and it was for a company that helps out local businesses, and it was almost like they pay us to deliver these, but it's almost like there's less pressure. People haven't paid to see it. They're not in the same journey as our typical clients. So it was almost like, even though we always want to deliver top tier training, it was like almost like there was a little bit less pressure on this to be absolutely perfect. But
did you find like going in and doing it, like, is there another way to prepare for it, or was the best thing for you to actually just go and do one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the best way to prepare, I think, is to do some online things first, just so you get comfortable with speaking in general, like just having conversation like this, or just feeling like you can deliver that content. So if I had a new presentation, for example, I'd probably feel more comfortable if I tried to run through it online and then try to do it in person, because you can iron out a few things. What you don't want to happen, and what I did, was stay up till 2 a.m. building your presentation, and then wake up at 5 a.m. sweating because today's the day, go in there and try and deliver a completely new presentation without any kind of warming to it at all. That's the problem. But I feel like I don't know, like you said earlier, for me, I've always wanted that. So I genuinely believe I'd be better in person long term than I am online, even though I would say to practice online.
So do you think if you'd have had a week of practicing, that would be better for you, or are you better the kind of like, let's just jump in?
I'm better that you put it on me. I probably would delay it as much as I can otherwise. That's the thing. So I feel like the more time you have to worry about it, the less you want to do it. So I do think just turning up and doing it is my best way. And I think the first 5 to 10 minutes, I'm always bad. But if you know what you're talking about, meaning you know the subject matter, I feel like once you get talking, you open it up and it's different.
What, you mean you get nervous at the beginning of your talk, Dave?
No,
I don't get nervous at the beginning of my talks.
So well, we'll come to that in a second, your little routine. But my routine is I stand there pacing for the first 15 minutes while I'm waiting for it to start, and my heart's racing like mad. But what do you do, Dean? What do you do before you have an event?
I can't be in the room. So if I know I'm going to speak, I have this real kind of nerves, like for the 15 minutes before, of like all sorts of weird things like that go through my mind, and it kind of clogs my thinking up. So I kind of have to hide. I know that sounds like a bit diva-ish, like, oh, I'll go and hide in a room or something and then come out for my talk. But it's awful. Well, you've seen me, right? You've seen me. I turn into like a weird person.
Why do you think you do it?
I think it's it's a couple of things. It's the pressure. It's the pressure of wanting to deliver. But also it's like, particularly when it's a workshop, it's a bit different if it's a large audience and you're just one of the speakers because there's other stuff going on and you're doing your own thing. But if it's a workshop where I'm the main speaker, like, I feel like some kind of pressure to fill the gap as the room's filling up, and I feel like I need to talk to people. And like I'm not very good in social situations,
So
so
you're actually less worried about delivery, but more worried about the small talk before to make sure it's not
yeah,
just we're all stood in
yeah.
silence
I, I
waiting.
I feel like if I'm in the room and we're waiting for the room to fill up, and I'm the main speaker, I feel like I should be walking around talking to everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, I'm not great with kind of small talk shit. So it suddenly goes, I feel like I should be doing all of this stuff that I don't like,
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable doing. So then I'm sat in the room thinking, they must think I'm ignorant because I'm not doing that stuff, and I'm just sitting in my own. It's like I torture myself with it.
But on the flip side of that, something strange I found out about 4 or 5 events ago was that as I start talking to people in the build up, so even though I don't really like that, my social battery's lot shorter, less than it used to be. But if I start to talk to a few people in the room, what that does is actually makes me more comfortable when I'm training because I feel like I know them. And it's weird. It's almost like I'm delivering to people that I know, that I can pick them out when I'm asking questions because I feel like I'm more warm to them. It's weird how by talking to them before I deliver, I feel naturally more comfortable delivering to them.
Mm. So weird. So weird.
Yeah. So what are you doing in those 15 minutes? So are you like when you're walking around or where you've disappeared, what is it what's going through your mind?
Has everybody arrived yet? All like really random things. Like, if we sell out an event and there's like, I don't know, 70, 80 people in, we know people don't come on time. So I start stressing about things like, okay, we know it's supposed to start at 9:30. People will show up about 9:35.
Mm-hmm.
I stress about that 5 minutes and what might people be thinking. Like even down to 5 minutes, I'll be thinking, are they thinking that because they've paid, a couple of £100 to come and hear me speak,
Yeah.
like, are they getting upset because they're having to wait 5 minutes?
Yeah.
It's so like all those little details just whiz through my head. And if I'm in the room whilst that's all going on, I feel the pressure to then entertain them, do something. I don't know.
Do you feel like that time goes fast or slow for you?
It's the slowest time ever.
Yeah.
It feels like it's never gonna like happen.
Except from when like you're waiting for people to turn up and you're in the room, because then you're looking at the clock, it's 3 minutes to go and you've got half the room missing. And you're like,
and then
please.
and the annoying bit then is you start and a couple of minutes in you get this wave of people walk in the room. Yeah. I guess like it's resilience though, isn't it? It's like, do you let this stuff stop you? I mean, there's things I hate about doing it. There's things you hate about doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, afterwards though, I come off buzzing. I absolutely love it. I could do it again. Do you know when you finish speaking, it's like, whoa, that was such a rush doing that. I really enjoyed doing that.
Because it's funny because I've been on the other side where I've been there more to support rather than being the lead trainer. And 3.5 hours can feel like a long, long time. When you're just sat on the other side, you've seen the presentation 100 times. Do you know what I mean? You're just kind of sat there in the audience, or like you're sat at the back of the room and it's a long old day. But when you're up the front there, sometimes I'm checking that clock and I'm like, that clock is moving way too fast. Like I have too much to deliver for that clock to keep moving like that.
And do you know what I found though? And somebody spoke to me about this, and you've done this, right? So we're unusual in the sense of most people cannot do 7 hours of non-stop training and keep energy levels up and keep it engaged and all that kind of stuff. And you've done it like literally 7 hours of back-to-back training and in person, high energy, all that stuff that we normally do. And somebody came up to me and said, I've just done an 1.5-hour session with you and I'm exhausted. How are you going to do another basically 4.5 hours of this?
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a skill to be able to keep your energy levels for that long and keep people engaged that long. And you do it now as well.
Yeah. Well, when I had that testimonial and it said, how was that workshop 3.5 hours? he well and truly kept me engaged for the whole thing. I was on the edge of my seat and I didn't want it to end. And I was thinking, 3.5 hours in content that I would say is educational, which to some can be quite boring, and that is actually the skill, really. It's how you can deliver this sort of information, what's making it fun, engaging, interactive, so that people don't want to just get up and leave. Do you know what I mean? And actually, Dean, we've seen this now more than ever. Our event will go on to 3.5 hours. We're 20 minutes over, and yet people are still sat down and they're still waiting, listening to us just answer questions.
The fascinating one I've had recently is I'll go, thank you very much. And I do my usual Trustpilot, the little things that we all have our little things that we say all the time. I do my little Trustpilot thing. And then I say, right, you're all free to go. Thank you for coming, blah, blah, blah. I'll get the little claps and applause and say, right, we'll take questions now, but if you need to dart off, that's cool. And everybody stays sat down because they want to hear all the questions. And I'm like, this feels awkward because I've ended the event, but everybody sat there as if it's not ended.
But I'll tell you what, that wasn't always like that for me. The first couple of events that I did, I felt like everyone just got up and left immediately. Like I felt like there was 2 people in the room at the end, and they're the ones who wanted to come up and speak to you. And another thing is that's very strange is the people that want to take photos with you. And they come up to you and they're like, wow, that was amazing. Will you take a photo? And then next thing you know, you see yourself all over social media because these people are sharing. That was surreal when I had a queue of like 4 different people, and don't tell my wife, but there was a few women in there, and they're like, wow, Dave, honestly, we've loved to, we've been excited to meet you. Can we take a photo with you? And it was like, okay, it seems strange now.
I've had that more and more, and it's like, wow. Like, it does give you that boost. So when you remember that you're the most boring person on the internet,
yeah, that's it.
you remember these things. And it is nice to see those social posts where people have tagged you. There's one actually, I think I saw one today, tagged you from Tuesday when you were at Growth Titans. It is really nice to see that. And it makes you go, actually what I'm doing is worthwhile. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, it feels good to know that people appreciated what you did.
Yeah, because obviously we make money from people buying tickets, but it actually doesn't even feel like that. It's actually much preferred work for us, even though you'd think traveling around, standing in a room, trying to deliver, doing the second most feared thing on the planet, statistically speaking. But actually, when it goes like that and people enjoy it and you come off the back of it, it is like a buzz. It is like a rush. It's not like you're happy you've delivered and yes, people are happy with what they paid for. Like as a speaker, you feel genuinely like ecstatic that it went well, and you want to tell everyone. I'll ring you up, Dean. Yeah, the event went really well, and like I want to feed that energy into you because I'm like I want to talk to people about it because how weird this feels. Like why does this feel so good?
I had one of the best events I've ever done, was Dallas. I did an event in Dallas, and you really do like feed off the crowd. And like in the UK, we're a good bunch, right? I love doing the UK events, and I'm not dissing the us Brits here, but we are a bit more calm. Do you know what I mean? We're a bit more level and sensible and steady.
We hold ourselves back, don't we, a little bit?
Yeah. We're quite reserved. But I was in Dallas and I spoke at an event, and from the get-go, it was like the audience had come for a party.
Amazing.
Do you know what I mean? They were just like, there was energy there. They were excited, and, we're playing into a stereotypical American thing, but I actually fed off it. And Martin was there, and he said, you were like bouncing, and it was like, because you feed off your audience.
Yeah.
And if the audience are up for it, if they're excited, then it kind of fuels itself. Do you know what I mean? Like if they're interested and up for it, it gets you energized to go, let's go for it. And then they get excited and let's go for it. And it was really bouncing. And I'm trying to do some more stuff. You've seen my little thing in my diary that I read and go through every day so how do I show up with more energy? How do I show up in a more engaging way? And it is a skill you kind of learn and get better at. It's not like you're a born public speaker.
No, I think no one is. I think you just have more confident people than others. But I think the public speaking, you're right in that sense. I feel like if you can walk in the room, bring high energy, so people then have to reach to match you. Because I feel like you have to you have to match each other. And if your audience, I mean, we've had it with course online workshops where it's notoriously more difficult to engage. And they don't ask a question and you sit there in silence because you've asked them a question hoping they engage, and you cannot just rush off because someone may be unmuting their mic. So you sit there and you're waiting for them to answer and no one does. And you've got 30 people in a room and you're thinking, I want this to be fun for all of us, not just me, but you guys too. And the least I think. And so if you're someone out there as well, by the way, who goes to these things, it pays for you to interact because actually you can ask questions that makes it personal for you, which means you get
out the speaker. And you get the best out of the speaker if you show up with energy. But what I think the big thing for me is particularly when I'm recording a video, I'll record a video and I'll feel like I've got good energy. And then I'll watch the video back and it's like, so here's 5 reasons. What the hell?
Yeah.
You kind of have to I know it's like a bit like fluffy, but you have to kind of psych yourself up with an energy level to go, right, I'm going to do this video. And that energy is like contagious.
Yeah. How you start is really important. I think you have to go in and be loud, give that eye contact straight away, let people know that you're there and you're stood up while everyone's sat down. So they're all kind of looking up towards you. So you need to project yourself in the room. And I think that's the first thing to kind of give you that, to grab the audience straight away, is if you kind of shock them into listening. It's like the amount of times I'll start and everyone's speaking, they're all talking to each other and they're all really loudly talking to each other. And I walk in, I'm thinking, oh no, I've got to try and get their attention. The worst thing you could do is try and talk whilst they're all talking to each other. So you've got to go in and command that attention immediately. And that in itself can be a daunting but really rewarding thing to do, like as soon as you get in the room.
I on Tuesday I was listening to you speak and you did an absolute corker of a dad joke. And it was so funny. Like you need that little bit of humor. Do you want to do it now? Do you want to tell people what your joke was? Go on.
What? I'll tell it in a second. But the thing is, right, I'll give you the reasoning and then I'll tell the joke. So I was super nervous because you're following a load of people who are used to speaking, including yourself. So the crowd's used to a certain level of expectation and you always feel obliged to meet it, especially when you're like the 4th or 5th speaker, because it almost feels like if it went well, they don't remember you as much, but if it went bad,
you're almost unpicking your own presentation based on what you've seen other people as well, going, oh, that's
exactly.
Like you judge yourself before you've even said anything.
Absolutely. And you're judging them for the things that you think they may be doing slightly wrong or slightly right. And actually you're starting to go, no, I need to really do that. And you start to overthink when actually you just need to do what you normally do and you'll be fine. But I went in there and I was thinking, right, this is a bigger audience, well, a bigger room to what we're usually talking in, and a wider room. So you've got to move yourself about a bit more. You've got to be loud. But I was like, one thing I don't want it to be is boring, or like you're getting kind of halfway through the day here and people just need. And actually, I knew the sort of jokes I know, right, are dad jokes. I don't know any jokes that kind of has anyone roaring with laughter, except the fact that I look across the room,
you can share public,
falling over. Yeah,
you exactly. Can share public.
Exactly. Look across the room and I see Dean laughing and rolling over, and it was basically I was building up to the fact that I wanted it to be related to what I was saying. I'm talking about digital sales and marketing. And I knew I was getting to a strategy that we teach, which involves things like this, like video events and webinars and lead generation. So I was like, what's a pirate's way to generate leads? And I went, webinars, like that. But I like came out to the crowd, I put my head forward, and I was just like, everyone, you could hear their reaction. It wasn't like, ha, 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 that was amazing. It was like, oh my God, he did not just do that. But it just completely changed the dynamic, right? That's the thing. Yeah, but you know me and you know what I've just done to myself by saying my joke. So it's not just the joke's funny, but it's almost like, oh my God. Like, and it does feel like the crowd immediately after that just grew a more of a connection to me. And I've had probably 6 messages. I had 4 people come up to me afterwards. I've had multiple things on LinkedIn of people just telling me how engaging and how amazing my talk was. And I was like, wow, it just like, that must play a part, humor. And and
So you're going to use the old webinar angle in every talk you do now?
Well, this is the ask thing now.
Every time we speak, we always have like some similar stories we like draw.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think what's my funny things that I said.
Fire alarm. The fire alarm thing.
Oh yeah, it's fire alarm. Yeah, the fire alarm. So it's like we're not having a fire alarm today. So if it goes off, run.
And that's a starting one, right? So it just makes you like, this isn't your boring normal thing. We've got a speaker who actually does like a laugh.
Yeah, you need to kind of like you need to kind of like you kind of have to change that dynamic, otherwise it stays very serious all the way through. And I sometimes will like I'll do things like what happens in the room stays in the room. Anybody got banned from LinkedIn and say who's lying? And it can be quite, I mean, you have to kind of really judge the audience because like, but most people I think are good sports.
I think you're right. I think it's about making the right parts funny when you know they should be serious. So it's like at the end, I always say, look, it's testimonials. We need them. They're our bread and butter. It's literally how we get to do these events, because people see your testimonial and they choose to come, and we're educating more people because of it. And I know that's a boring thing to get them to do. It's a boring task. So I always turn around and always say, and if you didn't like me, don't you put that online, right? And I said, if you did, make sure you say my name. And I'm like, if you didn't like me, come up and talk to me afterwards and tell me instead. And people always laugh because I'm addressing something like that, even though I know deep down that shouldn't happen. But at the same time, by addressing it, you show people that you're human, I think, and you add a bit of comedy to a normal boring scenario.
Yeah, it's it is fun though, isn't it? It's like there's nothing more rewarding than, you know, you can almost see people's faces when something like they get a new idea and go, oh, they kind of, you see it in their faces as you're talking.
Yeah, those moments. What do they call them? Wow, not are they wow moments? Yeah, so like people, you see them pinging, don't you? You can see them in it because you've got a view of the whole crowd, and like you see them nodding, and you're thinking, yes, I've got them now, and this just motivates you to keep going. And I do love it. I think, obviously, you've seen this more so than I have, doing the slightly different languages and cultures and the different environments. I haven't experienced that as much as you yet, so I'll be excited to see the difference and how I act differently when I'm in front of a crowd that lives a very different sort of.
I tell you what was tricky when I flew out to Eastern Europe to do a digital marketing conference, and you know what I'm like, I'm quite chilled out. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll do it, no problem, right? And then when I got there and realized it was I think 800 seats or something like that. There's 800 people and 7 translation booths.
Oh wow!
And I was like, oh shit, all my jokes are not going to work.
Yeah, basically.
Because obviously the language barriers, cultural.
Well, the translation as well, right? They'd translate them into something completely different.
Yeah, but I thought, do you know what I said? This is my first time to Romania, and all I know are British jokes. So I'm going to tell the jokes, and if you don't laugh, I'll tell you it was a joke, and then you laugh just to humor me. And that was the best joke I did. But yeah, it's just like, you got to have, like, I think people can tell when you're having a good time.
Yeah.
And if you're not having,
if you want to be there or if you don't want to be there.
Yeah. And I think people will also can tell if you want to help. Like, if you're just speaking because you want to speak, it kind of comes off in the way you put yourself. But if it's like, actually, I really want to do a good job for these people, I really want to help them, that kind of comes out. Like the intention, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why I think storytelling is so good, because it shows authenticity and people relate to it and they buy into it, because we can easily just get a book or a manual and read what the content is in the manual to someone and just put a PowerPoint slide up and talk through the slides. And a lot of like government presentations feel like that. But our job is to make it feel relatable, make it feel accessible and achievable. And that comes from showing more of our experiences as we're doing it. And I think that's what makes a trainer, is almost showing that I'm a human teaching you another human to do it, and if I can do it, you can do it too. It's like do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
that's kind of angle we have.
So just before we wrap up, because we've gone quite a way here.
Yeah.
How do you deal with like difficult questions or questions where you don't have a concrete answer? How did you get to deal with that and manage those kind of tricky questions?
So I still get nervous of this now, but I used to be really nervous of people asking me something I didn't know. And then I realized, actually, I don't need to know everything. And that was the thing for me. It was, if I didn't know, don't try and force myself to answer it. Just say to them, oh, it's not something I'm completely aware of at the minute, but grab me after this. I'll take your question and actually I'll go figure it out for you and we'll figure it out together. Let that person know that I'll support them in getting that answer, but actually I don't need to know the answer to absolutely everything. And actually sometimes I'd think I didn't know the answer, but when I trusted myself to go, when they asked me, I trusted myself to actually dig for the answer and I'd find it. So a lot of the time we overthink what people are going to ask. And most of the questions, Dean, you'll find are way simpler than we ever prepare ourselves for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm sometimes like, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, oh, that's easy. And it's surprising. I think this is the biggest thing for me, is surprising how much you take for granted what you already know.
Absolutely.
Like, the fact that people still ask me things about hashtags, for an example, and I'm like, yeah, I've known about hashtags forever. And it's just, you forget, like, we're all on a journey, and the purpose of a trainer or a speaker is to help people a bit further. You're a bit further down the journey than everybody else. But often we kind of get obsessed with, like, what if Dean asked me a question? What if I asked myself a question? I've got bigger questions. Yeah, like, I've got bigger questions. Like, I've been growing in a particular way on social media at the moment. Here's where I'm at. There's a ceiling I'm trying to break through at the moment, and we kind of hit against it and get stuck. What would your advice be? And I'm like, because that's an advice threshold for me. I'm at a just different level of the journey. And I think sometimes I expect questions from myself.
Yeah, like Dave, I work with private schools and I want to attract private schools to my content. What messaging should I use? And I think, I don't know your industry, but I will beat myself up for not knowing the answer. When actually we need to be honest and say, I don't know too much about your industry, but the messaging needs to kind of follow this structure. And actually we can answer it with another kind of question or another different angle. But you're right, the pressure, and then you'll do all this pressure, and then you'll do a 3.5-hour workshop, and then you'll go, right, any questions? Someone will raise their hand, and you're like, oh no, what's this going to be? Where is the LinkedIn app on my phone? You're like,
Yeah, no, we do beat ourselves up thinking we're going to get a really complicated question. And if we're all on a journey and, we're helping people come, we just need to be 2 steps ahead, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and if not, support them to answer it later. Like, you can't know everything. So that person will be open as long as you pay attention to them and you follow up. I think you giving them your one-to-one time is actually more valuable to their question anyway. So I think don't be scared to not know the answer. Just make sure you give them a solution in some shape or form. So
people have been listening to the most boring man on YouTube and the guy who has zero credibility.
We're going to get so many comments
on YouTube. So
many comments, so many bad comments.
But it's weird. I think it's weird. And I think the lesson here from our ramblings is, if you're listening to this and you like public speaking, putting yourself out on social media, you grow into it. Yeah. I've got a new saying, Dave. If you go into it, you grow into it.
Okay.
It's a bit cheesy, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm sure I'll use that somewhere. Dave, thank you for coming on. We're with no script, talking about the embarrassing, tricky moments in speaking. If you've not connected with Dave before, go find him on LinkedIn. Tell him he's a great speaker. Tell him he's not the most boring person on YouTube.
Please.
And say, I learned that from the guy with 10,000% credibility. No, thank you for watching, everybody, and go check out what Dave's up to, and maybe go see him at an event.
Yeah. Look, follow me on LinkedIn. We're always doing webinars, podcasts, and things like that. Like, I do a lot of stuff on my own too, but it's great to get on this with Dean. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Let's ask him a tricky question.
Yeah. in the comments. Give me some time to respond.
Cool.
Right.
Thanks, Dave.
See you later.